History rarely warns us before everything changes. One evening, the lights simply go out. Entire cities disappear into darkness. During World War II, millions of civilians lived under strict blackout rules. Every window covered, every street lamp turned off. The goal was simple: make the city invisible to enemy bombers flying above. But darkness alone could not stop the war. High above the clouds, bomber aircraft searched for targets. Below them, ordinary people waited, listening. Air raid sirens became the soundtrack of survival. The moment the siren echoed through the streets, families moved quickly. No panic, no shouting, just practiced routine. Within minutes, entire neighborhoods flowed toward underground shelters. Subway stations, tunnels, basements, anywhere deep enough to survive what might fall from the sky. Inside these shelters, life continued in a strange silence. Blankets covered cold floors. Suitcases held the few possessions people could carry. Children slept beside strangers, and somewhere in the dim lantern light, someone always kept notes, observing how people adapted when survival became their daily routine. Morning often revealed the cost of the night. Streets that stood yesterday reduced to rubble today. Smoke rising where homes once stood. Yet even among the destruction, civilians returned to the surface and began again. Because survival during war was not about heroics, it was about systems. Food became one of the most controlled resources of the war. Governments issued ration cards, limiting how much bread, meat, sugar, and fuel each person could receive. Long lines formed outside distribution centers. People waited patiently, not because they wanted to, but because they understood something important. When supplies become scarce, discipline becomes survival. Inside grocery stores, shelves slowly emptied. The luxuries disappeared first, then the extras. Eventually, only the absolute basics remained. So civilians adapted. Rainwater collected from rooftops. Courtyards turned into small vegetable gardens. Every empty space became an opportunity to grow food. Even damaged neighborhoods began producing life again. Fuel shortages changed transportation overnight. Cars disappeared from the streets. Instead, bicycles returned, quiet, efficient, and impossible to ration. Sometimes survival simply meant choosing the simplest solution.
Water pumps became gathering points for entire communities. People waited with metal containers, sharing small conversations while collecting what they needed to last another day. And quietly, something else began to appear: cooperation. Neighbors traded supplies in narrow alleyways. One family had bread, another had vegetables, someone else had coal for heating. No official system organized it, but communities always create their own economy when survival demands it. Inside small apartments, meals became simpler. A single pot on a coal stove, a carefully measured portion of food, enough to continue, but never enough to waste. Some families hid supplies beneath floorboards, storing canned goods in jars for emergencies. Not out of greed, out of understanding. Because the people who survived longest were often the ones who planned quietly, while others hoped things would return to normal. Public spaces became training grounds for preparation. Civilians practiced air raid drills repeatedly, learning exactly where to go and how to react. Preparation turned fear into routine. Above the rooftops, anti-aircraft guns searched the sky, firing into the darkness, while searchlights scanned for aircraft. The war in the air never truly stopped. Sometimes the explosions were distant, sometimes they were close enough to shake the walls. Inside shelters, civilians gathered around radios for updates from the outside world. Every broadcast carried news and uncertainty. People listened carefully, trying to understand how long the war might last. Meanwhile, survival required constant planning. Maps spread across tables, safe routes marked carefully with pencils, streets to avoid, buildings already destroyed, areas still considered safe. In times of crisis, information becomes as valuable as food. Not all help came from governments. Volunteers appeared in city squares, distributing hot soup to hungry civilians. Long lines formed again, but this time for warmth. Sometimes a single bowl of soup meant the difference between strength and exhaustion. War also revealed something deeper about human nature. Strangers helped elderly neighbors walk through damaged streets. Volunteers cleared debris so families could pass safely. Even in the middle of destruction, cooperation survived. Children adapted fastest of all. Inside bomb shelters, they still found ways to play quietly in long corridors, turning fear into games their young minds could understand. Above them, entire sections of the city burned. Firefighters battled flames during bombing raids, often risking their lives while explosions continued around them. Afterward, survivors searched through rubble for anything useful: wood for fuel, metal for repairs, fragments of a life interrupted. Even broken materials had value. Some civilians eventually left the cities entirely, moving into rural villages where bombing was less frequent. There, new forms of survival emerged. Small farms supported evacuees, backyard chicken coops provided eggs, gardens grew quietly behind village houses. Food security became local again. In village markets, barter replaced money, bread for vegetables, eggs for tools. When supply chains collapse, communities rebuild them in smaller ways. Through it all, observers continued to write and record what they saw, because these moments were not just war stories, they were lessons in how humans adapt when systems fail. And slowly, the war began to change. Cities still carried scars, but smoke cleared from the skyline. Civilians returned to rebuilding streets, repairing homes with salvaged bricks and wood. Recovery did not arrive suddenly, it arrived piece by piece. Neighbors shared food again, volunteers helped families restart their lives. Damaged neighborhoods slowly filled with the sounds of construction instead of sirens. Even then, vigilance remained. From rooftops, careful eyes still watched the sky through binoculars, scanning for aircraft that might return. And every night, blackout rules continued. Candles replaced electric light, windows stayed covered. The city learned to exist quietly beneath the stars. But eventually, morning always came. Sunlight touched buildings that had survived the war. Smoke faded. Streets filled again with people rebuilding what had been lost. And somewhere above the recovering skyline, one observer stood quietly, watching. Not as a hero, but as a witness. Because the greatest lesson of survival is not strength, it is adaptation. When systems fail, when resources disappear, when uncertainty becomes normal, human beings do something remarkable. They learn, they cooperate, and slowly, they rebuild the world again.